pathetic. Good Tuesday morning, YouTube. How you guys doing today? Good morning, Natasha. Good morning to Cash Life. Good morning, Ronnie Q. Cash Life said, "Hey, Miss Olivia. Hey, y'all. No, I'm not taking the vaccine. Mexico City just got their shipment. I'm reading that the Mexicans. Oh, thanks for joining the Cash Life. I'm reading it. I'm reading that the Mexicans ain't feeling it either. Well, we're gonna talk about it. Thanks for joining. Thanks for becoming a member of the Cash Life. I appreciate it. And I am trying to build up my membership, guys. And thank you so much for joining the membership, because I wanted to have this conversation with our well, in the member studio or whatever. I'm still trying to figure out how to get it done, but this is so important that, and I was trying to wait till we got to at least 20 people to join. And since I'm tired of waiting, so we're just gonna have this conversation right here, and we're gonna talk. We're gonna call it alternative commentary here in the beef sector. We know that these subjects like this, if it ain't beef, ain't nobody wanting to listen to it over here. But that's okay. I'm not worried about views today. Hey, Chris, I am worried about information. Okay, and I want to talk about a few things as well as let us play some audio from a couple of videos. Do you see what I'm saying? And I think we got, is that a troll? Learning, I'm number 20. Maybe it's not a troll. But anyway, we're gonna talk about this COVID-19 vaccine. Okay, like I said, give me a second, guys. I know I get sidetracked real easy, right? So the COVID vaccine is rolling out, right? The shipments have been made. Oh, and as far as the shipments go, just let me say this, in case anybody is interested. FedEx, and as well as, what the heck is that? Reno 419 Rockstar. I don't know who you are. Are you legit? But anyway, I'm going right along. I got a sidetrack, y'all. Like I said, as far as the vaccine is being distributed to the vaccine is being shipped out. Good morning, Shirley. The vaccine is, yeah, you are, troll? Oh, okay. Hold on, guys. All right. So anyway, the shipments they have started shipping the COVID vaccine, right? I'm not going to get interrupted anymore, right? They started shipping it, and as it pertains to shipping, they are hiring. If you are interested, that's right, Ronnie Q. Bye-bye. If you are interested, they are hiring up to, I think it 170,000 workers or 70,000 workers, something like that, to help with the Christmas gifts being shipped out, as well as the arduous task of shipping the COVID vaccine out throughout the country. They said it is a very tedious process, and so they are hiring extra workers for that. If you guys are interested, I heard that, right? So talking about the vaccine, the question that I asked is, do you feel that it's going to be effective? And the reason why I asked that is because they're saying the vaccine, I don't even know. They saying that the vaccine, I'm using that term loosely from what all I've heard. They're saying that the vaccine could be effective anywhere between 4 and 6 months, right? And they're also saying that they still don't know if the vaccine is going to prevent people from contracting COVID-19, right? And they're hoping to jumpstart herd immunity. Now, herd immunity is when enough people in your vicinity, like in your neighborhood or your community where you work or whatever, if enough people have gotten COVID-19, they obviously haven't died from it. They're hoping that the herd immunity, because pretty much everybody has gotten it. Hey, Season of the Witch. Hey, Felicia. Hey, Wild Hudson. That you will build your immune system will become more resistant to the virus. That's what they're hoping for. So my thinking is, if you don't know, number one, on one hand, you're going to say it's going to protect. It could possibly protect you anywhere between 4 and 6 months, right? But it still doesn't know if it will protect against the virus. So why? How is it a vaccine? Like, I'm confused by that. Let's like double talk, or is it just me? But anyway, that's what they're saying about that, right? So I'm just confused. And so that's why I asked the question, do you think that it would be affected? And also they're saying that they still don't know if the shot is going to work on people between 16 and 17 years of age and younger. They don't know if it will be effective at all. You know, right, Ronnie Q, right? That's my question, right? They don't know if it's going to be effective in your children at all. Okay, y'all please hit the like button. I know it ain't many of us because, you know, if it ain't beef, like I said, don't nobody want to hear about it. But a few of us want to become, you know, we want to be up on what's going on, right? So anyway, but that's what they're saying, right? So when they start talking like that, I was looking at the news. I've been looking at it for a couple of days, but in particular, I looked at the news yesterday. And that is why I want to have this conversation this morning. Because, you know, you remember when the virus came out in January, they started talking about the virus in January. Hey, Hoodoo. Hey, Alicia. Hey, Wanda. They started talking about the virus in January. But come to find out, the United States government have known about this virus, they believe, since November. They said Trump got something on his desk in November about the virus, right? Because y'all know he played it off, and it is what it is. They've been knowing about it since November. We don't know exactly. I believe they started talking about it in China, in Wuhan. Y'all remember that eye doctor that started warning people about the virus and stuff and all this and all that, and they try to play it off as much as they can, right? So anyway, the United States government has known about it allegedly since November, right? We are being used. Absolutely, Natasha. I agree with that. Since November, right? So from November to now, it has killed upwards more than, or at least 300,000 people. That's what they're saying, right? GM, I'm not taking it. Isn't this vaccine still? Technically, yes, in my opinion, it is, but they got to do something. What they're doing, in my opinion, it sounds like they're hoping to jumpstart herd immunity. That's what it sounds like, because I don't know if you just came in and you heard what I said at first, but they're saying that, let me say it again, they're saying that the virus, they're saying that the vaccine can give you protection, they believe, between 4 and 6 months, right? But they're saying that they still don't know, that it's still unclear if the vaccine will prevent you from contracting getting the virus or whatever, getting COVID. Do you see what I'm saying? And so that's what we're talking about. So with them saying all of that, I'm thinking, well, is it a vaccine or is it like, I'm confused. It's like double talk, right? And so anyway, we're going to get to that. My thoughts. We're going to get to that, right? Natasha, historically, we always have it. Absolutely. So that's what we want to talk about this morning, right? So I just want to give you guys a few things that they're saying, in mass media and all of this and all that, right? So, but I read something from the Journal of American Medicine, and I want to share that with you guys, right? Along the lines when we're talking about us, when we're talking about Black people, what they call people of color, right? That they're talking about Black people via our history. When it comes to Black people in medical abuse, medical experimentation, all of this and all of that, is it any wonder that we're skeptical when it comes to this vaccine? Even with the fact that y'all remember, I lost my train of thought. Y'all remember back, I think around March or April, they started talking about, more people of color are susceptible for dying of dying. More Black people are more susceptible of dying. You got a better chance of dying from COVID. Black and Hispanic people in particular, you got a better chance of dying, and all of this and all of that. But we know that We felt a way about that back then. We felt like that may not be true, and we still feel that way about that now because we know via our history that we always have to be skeptical when it comes to anything concerning medicine. Okay, we have always been experimented on, right? The Tuskegee incident, when it was when they did the Tuskegee research about syphilis, they told black people that when they put these flyers out in these black communities, and they told men that their blood needed to be drawn, for this, that, and the other. Come to find out, when these black men lined up to get their blood drawn, they were actually given syphilis, okay? Because they wanted to know how syphilis will react to the body, right? So instead of them, they acted like they was taking your blood, but they actually injecting these men with syphilis, okay? That's what they were doing. And not only that, we know about several, medical abuses. And I'm gonna let us listen to an interview with a woman that wrote the book Medical Apartheid. And so, like, is there any? And we know that even if we have insurance, you may not get the best health insurance. Do you see what I'm saying? We know that as black people. So a lot of black people are skeptical about even going to the doctor, for regular checkups or whatever, right? And so, yep, let the president and all lawmakers and law enforcement get the shot first. When has Trump administration cared about skipping the line? The Trump administration was supposed to get it, but now they're saying they don't want to skip ahead of other people conveniently. Well, also the NFL said that too. They don't want to jump line, but they're giving it to medical workers, right? They keep showing on TV that they're giving it to medical personnel, people that work in the hospital, and they keep on highlighting this one black woman and this one black man, and we know that we do. They do programming through mass media, right? Hey, King's Mina. So I'm thinking, why they keep showing this one black woman taking this shot and speaking so highly about it, and this one black man? And that goes back to them saying that people of color, moreover, black people and Hispanics, are more likely to die from COVID-19, right? So you have to ask yourself, why? Why us in particular? Why was the emphasis put on black people? Especially when they start saying how many people would die from COVID, right? Because we have other comorbidity issues that we deal with, in particular in the black community. But the opinion of some people was that no matter what you died from, be it high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attack, stroke, no matter what you were dying from, they were saying that you were dying from the COVID-19. That's what they were saying. You see what I'm saying? A few months back, that's what they were. There was some people's opinions of the COVID numbers when it came to the black community, right? That's what they were saying, right? So anyway, before we get to what the author had to say about her book, Medical Apartheid, if you guys haven't read that book, you guys ought to read that book. It's on Amazon right now, especially if you are black in these United States of America, right? They come first when it comes to everything. Anyway, I'm just real skeptical as to why they had to highlight that, back then, that blacks and Hispanics, people of color, as they call it, were more susceptible when it came to dying from the COVID, right? But if you looking around, like, you're kind of seeing the opposite. So I'm like confused, right? So yeah. Anyway. That coupled with the fact that they're acknowledging the fact that they want to jumpstart herd immunity, right? That's what I think they're hoping to jumpstart herd immunity. They're hoping to slow this virus down enough so that our own system will begin to fight it. I was in somebody's chat. Was that Ronnie Q? No, Ronnie Q. Maybe it was what's that lady named Face Yaya said something about the rDNA. You see what I'm saying? And they're wanting what the rDNA is, replicated DNA. They're wanting to shoot this replicated DNA into your system, hoping that your immune system would rise above the rDNA and become stronger enough to fight off the virus. That's what they're using the rDNA for. They want to shoot this foreign DNA into your body to get it to fight off this virus. But they say it came from animals. Okay. That was you, Q. Okay. And to me, the vaccine is code word for depopulation. Oh, yeah. Clearly, it's something. I believe that too, Hoodoo. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm trying to keep it as close to the facts. I mean, I'm not trying to get too far out there. I don't want to snatch the video, but you're absolutely right. I think people are being overly paranoid. Desiree Lockhart said, I think people are being overly paranoid. I'm glad you said that about this vaccine. If the power that be really wanted to get rid of people of color, they could have did it by means of Popeye's chicken sandwich. Well, let me tell you this, Desiree. That's a very interesting comment. I'm glad you said that. When it comes to black people throughout the diaspora, right? They consider us non-producers, right? They say that we are non-producers, right? And somebody said Hoodoo said, and to me, vaccine is code word for depopulation, right? So if you take what Hoodoo said and you take what you just said, and take coupled with the fact that 300,000, they're saying that upwards of 300,000 people in the United States alone have died. Now we don't know about worldwide. When you take that and then couple it with the fact that they're saying that the virus is killing off more people of color, i.e. black people. Do you see what I'm saying? One would have to ask, is there, and when it comes to global depopulation, if you are, who are you going to get rid of first? Are you going to get rid of the non-producers first? Or are you going to get rid of the people that they consider, that the dominant society considers to be the non-producers? Now, it would seem to me that common sense would tell me that they are going to get rid of the non-producers first. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you think about what they're saying in the news with the virus, killing off more people of color, coupled with depopulation, coupled with everything else I just said, us being non-producers, they're saying us being non-producers. If they want to depopulate the population, who are they going to start working with? Who are they going to start working with first? Do you see what I'm saying? But here's the thing, though. We know that for years, people have been, and scientists have been in Africa, on the continent, right? Experimenting with many diseases, right? Many diseases. Ebola, number one. Ebola did more damage. Let me click on this. Ebola did more damage in the Ebola outbreak did more damage in the Congo, on the continent than anywhere else. And I found it strange that if Ebola was so bad over there, how is it that it really didn't cross waters, but now all of a sudden it's crossing over to us? Do you see what I'm saying? The Cash Life said during the debates, Joe Biden said the Rona was for depopulation for people of color. Joe Biden said that? It was such a slick slip up that no one caught. I didn't catch that either because I didn't hear nothing like that. The Cash Life, wow. Hoodoo, I'm still working through that book. It's heavy. REX 84 is in full effect. Girl, look. So, like I said, they've been experimenting forever on the continent and the motherland to the point to where they had this Ebola outbreak that occurred between 2014 and 2016 in West Africa. They were saying at the time it was the largest outbreak. The World Health Organization that said that was the largest Ebola outbreak. Do you see what I'm saying? They said the Ebola virus, the actual virus though, was discovered in 1976. So are you saying that do I have a troll in here or no? Absolutely. Our people have always been used as vaccines. I mean, as guinea pigs. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to stop reading these comments, y'all. I'm sorry. No, they're not even using Ronnie Q. It's not even. I don't know if some people are replicating chimp RNA or not, but when it comes to that rDNA, it's replicated DNA. It's not animal and it's not human at all. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not animal or it's not human. See, that's what people get mixed up with. It's not animal or it's not human. Not the rDNA. Now it's replicated DNA. Okay, so come on. Hey, Derek, how you doing? No, just use caps a lot, not a troll. Oh, okay. Okay, I got you. Anyway, y'all got me off my track, child. We talked about the Ebola outbreak. I think that Ebola outbreak, in my opinion, since it had been around forever, right? I think that they did a lot of research on that Ebola outbreak. Now, we have all heard of a chemical or germ warfare. You see what I'm saying? And when this thing first came out about Wuhan, China, some people were thinking that this was a form of chemical warfare. Then they try to backtrack and say it came from a bat. Yeah, I know. I'm not buying it. Me, myself, I don't buy it. You see what I'm saying? And what about tuberculosis? You see what I'm saying? Tuberculosis, they say, has been known to mankind since the ancient times, right? Since ancient times. And they're saying that it is believed that the genus, the bacterium, was present in the environment about 150 million years ago. But they found a tuberculosis vaccine. So if you found a vaccine that could annihilate TB, how is it that you can't find a vaccine, a proper vaccine for stuff like the common cold and other things of that nature? See, all of this stuff is just going around in my head all at one time. You taking it on Friday, Miss Ray? Replicated DNA. They out here doing it. I got some. Yeah, absolutely, Bree Love. It's replicated DNA. See, some people were thinking that was chimp or monkey DNA, like I think Ronnie Q said a few minutes ago, a little while up. But no, it's not that. It's replicated DNA. That's what it is. Isn't everybody? Now, I'm talking about rDNA, though. I'm not talking about RNA. I'm not talking about RNA. What they're using is rDNA, replicated DNA. That's what they want to inject in you to try to boost your immune system, basically, your own DNA to fight off the virus. They want to separate, they want to shoot the rDNA, the replicated DNA. I'm talking about replicated DNA. I'm talking about rDNA, Ronnie Q. rDNA. Let's focus on that one. rDNA is replicated. Okay, it's not from an animal. It's not from us. It's replicated. It's our DNA, DNA in general, replicated in a lab. They want to inject it in you. Okay, your DNA will rise up. They hope that your DNA, the DNA that we possess in our body, all of us, will rise above that rDNA and kind of strengthen your DNA. Is because it's trying to fight out. It can't destroy the rDNA, but it's trying so hard to destroy the rDNA that it's going to strengthen and it's going to get so strong to where it will be able to annihilate the COVID-19. That's what they're hoping to shoot. They're thinking that's going to work. When it comes to your own body destroying the COVID virus. You see what I'm saying? And I think some people, a lot of stuff get lost in translation, and a lot of folks be going off to the side, and you go too far because they're not talking about RNA. And I know what you're talking about, Ronnie Q, but what they're wanting to use, I think Moderna is wanting to use it, okay, is rDNA. And then they was talking about, on a side note, and please, anything I'm saying, please just do a little research. Do you see what I'm saying? And you can see it for yourself. Don't take my word on nothing. Now, also I want to say, and I forgot to say this at the top of the video, I'm not telling anybody to not take the vaccine or to take the vaccine. I'm not trying to convince anybody one way or the other. I'm trying to, just present a few facts, because one thing for certain and two things for sure, we are in the midst of a global pandemic. It is real. People are dying. That is real. That is real. So I would never assume to tell anybody to take it or not to take it. Do you see what I'm saying? You got to decide on your own what you're going to do for you and your family. And I have presented a couple of facts. Even when it came down to the kids, they said that they don't know if it's going to be affected or not. And young people, 16 or 17 or younger. Do you see what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I'm not, it's on you. You decide what you want to do, but let me present the facts. When some issues pertaining to our people. Okay, that's why I'm doing this video this morning, right? And everybody have their own opinion, right? So we gonna move past DNA, and I will just give you a little brief history. Now, along with this book called Medical Apartheid, let me read you this. I found this little, and just a little bit of it. The whole thing is a lot longer. But let me read you this. This is from JAMA, the Journal of American Medicine. Okay? Let me read you this, right? It says, when it comes to this whole COVID-19 and the research, right? It's saying, and I quote, while multiple research studies show that Black and Hispanic patients are more likely to test positive for COVID-19, researchers found that once hospitalized Black patients, quote, after controlling of other serious health conditions and neighborhood income, meaning the other things that we are susceptible to, like high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, after controlling that, as well as socioeconomic status, after controlling that, so they unquote, were less likely to have severe illness, die, or be discharged to hospice compared to white patients. Okay, this is coming from JAMA, right? Let me read that again, right? This is coming from the Journal of American Medicine, right? It says that, quote, while multiple research studies show that Black and Hispanic patients are more likely to test positive for COVID-19, researchers found that once hospitalized Black patients, after controlling of other serious health conditions and neighborhood income, were less likely to have severe illness, die, or be discharged to hospice compared to white patients. But remember, early on they said we was dying from it more. People of color were more susceptible to death when it comes to the COVID-19. That's what they said before, right? So the little clip goes on, the paragraph goes on to state that the study recently published online in JAMA Network Open is, according to its authors, one of the first to examine the impact of comorbid conditions and neighborhood socioeconomic status on outcomes for Black, Hispanic, and Asian patients hospitalized for COVID-19. Findings indicate that Black and Hispanic populations are not inherently more susceptible to poor COVID-19 outcomes compared to other groups, and that once hospitalized, their outcomes are equal to or better than their white counterparts. Make it make sense. First, they were saying we were more susceptible of dying from COVID-19. They said the numbers show that Black and brown people, were dying at a higher rate than white people. That's what they were saying, right? But now they're saying that's not true. They're saying that's not true. It said, let me read that last part again. Findings indicate that Black and Hispanic populations are not inherently more susceptible to poor COVID-19 outcomes compared to other groups, and that once hospitalized, their outcomes are equal to or better than their white counterparts. You see what I'm saying? And it makes sense to say I'm a wait, in my opinion. Who do? That's very smart because, like I said at the top of the video, I don't know if you heard me, but mass media is reporting that when it comes to the vaccine, they're believing now. Yeah, that's right. But we are paranoid though. But black folks is paranoid. Now I just read to you a paragraph from the Journal of American Medicine. They published this, right? You can go online and see it yourself. Go to capital JAMA Network. Just Google search it. Now you can read that for yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? So yes, hence the guinea pig stage of the vaccine. Right, the whole country. We are all guinea pigs. If you take it, you are a guinea pig. And I say that we are a guinea pig because according to mass media says that they believe that the vaccine will protect you anywhere between 4 and 6 months, right? They said it is still not clear that the vaccine will prevent you from contracting COVID-19. That is what mass media said. And I just read to you what the Journal of American Medicine said when it comes to black and brown people. Do you see what I'm saying? So, is this a vaccine or not? Oh, and also they also said that they are hoping to, slow the virus down enough so that we will, undergo some type of herd immunity. That's why I didn't want to get too far off the subject, with DNA and all this other stuff, because it's all of this right here in our face that they're having to come out and say. Do you see what I'm saying? Kittens, the Puerto Rican isn't taking crowd. They can do what now? Is this a troll? Oh, okay. I got you, Kitten Zombie. I had to read it again. But anyway, this is what they're saying, and I said all this, and I read all that to counter what they were saying earlier on about black and brown people. No matter they were, whether it be poor socioeconomic status or not, they were saying that black and brown people were more likely to succumb from COVID-19. You're more likely to die, but now they're saying no, that's not true at all. It's not true. It says their outcomes are equal to or better than their white counterparts. That's what the Journal of American Medicine said. So I find it very interesting. It's very suspect to me. Do you see what I'm saying? It's real suspect. I'm just saying, right? So we're gonna talk about real quick because I don't want to hold you guys too long. Okay, I'm trying to keep it to an hour because I know this is not a popular subject, but this information needs to be out there. Do you see what I'm saying? It needs to be out there. And y'all remember when it comes to your kids that they said between the ages of 16 and 17 and below, they don't know if this shot is going to be effective at all on your children. But they are wanting you to at least try to shoot this into your children. But this is just something to think about. All right. These are all the things that they are saying, And so, yeah. And I think that they're coming out with so much information because people are really asking questions. Ain't nobody stupid around here. We know that it takes years and years and years to perfect a vaccine. When it comes to black people in particular, look at what happened when we start to feel safe about getting our children immunized. Okay, all of a sudden, a lot of our children started being diagnosed as being autistic, right? Come to find out years later when people started asking questions, come to find out it was too much mercury. Remember that word? It was too much mercury in the immunizations, and a lot of our children were being diagnosed as being autistic, right? But like I said, it was because of the mercury. They say they recalibrated those vaccines and took the mercury out. So was that on purpose, or was it just, just all of a sudden it's too much mercury after all these years? Do you see what I'm saying? I took the vaccine, them immunizations way back when I was a child. Do you see what I'm saying? All my nieces and nephews, the adult ones, the grown ones took the vaccines. They were fine. Now, all of a sudden, when it comes down to my nieces and nephews having kids, and we have in my family in particular, we were affected by this because I have a great niece that is autistic. We don't have a history of any type of retardation, autism, anything like that in our medical history in this family. But up pops my niece that is high functioning now, but nevertheless, she is autistic. Ain't that something? So yeah, you remember hearing about the mercury. Yeah, they recalibrated it. But they did that to my baby. But that's all right, because God is good. Now we're going to move right along from there. I ain't going to start preaching about that, but every time I think about it, it pisses me off. But anyway, along with the book, I just want to mention this other book. There's a book called, wow, is that why so many kids are autistic? And yes, absolutely, Slayer Jim. I've talked about that before. It was too much mercury in the vaccines, and it was causing a lot more. It really affected black children, but affected, other races of children too. But it really impacted our community. You see what I'm saying? Another reason why they always, just on a side note, in my opinion, like to research on us. Have you guys heard of Henrietta Lacks? Our bodies in particular are, even down to our melanin, they have always tried to figure out why we are the way that we are medically. Do you see what I'm saying? Why we are the way that they are. And I suspect that for centuries, and I'm going to read this and I'm going to let her say this, right? They have been trying to figure out a way, even down to experimenting on those poor children on the continent over there. They killed, ain't no telling how many kids with these vaccines. Maimed them. That they've lost arms and legs and hands and eyesight and all kind of disabilities because these scientists are over here on the continent experimenting on those babies to the point where they got so bold they set off a freaking Ebola bomb between 2014 and 2016. That is crazy. But like I said, we are considered non-producers. Okay? They can't figure out how to get rid of us. What makes us tick? So it will stand to reason that they are pushing this. The first thing I'm going to tell you, this COVID-19 is killing you, black person. It's killing you, brown person. Then they're going to say, we're going to develop this vaccine in less than a year, and it's imperative that you, black person, take it. It's imperative that you, in particular, you take it. Okay? Now, Bill Gates, we know that he's been over there experimenting on the continent forever. Now, he backs a company called BioNTech, BioNTech. That is Bill Gates' company. Okay? Now, he also has a vaccine out there, but Bill Gates has I suspect that he's been there had a vaccine. Okay? I suspect that, And so, yeah. But anyway, no, Oprah didn't do justice to the story. I agree with that. Her DNA has been, it's been replicated and used for cancer treatments. Absolutely. That's Henrietta Lacks. If I ain't never, that's the story of Henrietta Lacks. Yeah, but they kept their cells and they never even compensated the family. The family didn't know about it forever. The HBO did a movie on it. If you got, I don't know if it's still on HBO, but it was on there forever, but I haven't watched it in a very long time. He has that chip in his vaccine. That's what they're suspecting. He's into cloning. Bill Gates. He's into cloning. He's into eugenics. His father was a eugenicist. Do you see what I'm saying? And so yeah, that says a lot about what he got going on. And he's into depopulation. And it's that he's been experimenting, like I said, on the continent. Many of them have forever on our people over there. That coupled with he want to do what his daddy did, which is the eugenicist thing. Do you see what I'm saying? Global depopulation, New World Order. It's a whole lot of suspicions as to what is really going on around here. Like, it's a lot to deal with, And y'all keep getting me sidetracked, though. I'm just all over the place. And I'm sorry. These comments is too hard to pass up. But anyway, I hope y'all hit the like button, right? So anyway, I hope y'all get some information out of this. I'm just trying to give you something to think about. Do you see what I'm saying? I hope you guys are reading the comments too, right? And so that's what it seemed like, Kid Design, because he worked with that witch over there, that Russian witch. Okay? So you make a good point, Kid Zombie. Actually, it's a damn shame when you get so rich that the only thing you got left in life to do is mess with human life. That is sad. You get so rich, you can have anything on the planet and off the planet. The only thing left to conquer is a human being. Ain't that sad? Child. It's just something to think about. But they said money is the root of all evil. You can't. That's why they say you can't, serve God and money. You got to make a choice. Do you see what I'm saying? And our power is very destructive for somebody to have that much power. It's not a good thing for a human being to have that much power. And we know that wealth equates power, right? So along with the book called Medical Apartheid, I'm gonna let you listen to the off. Absolutely. They sure do, Kid Zombie. They think those hostile. Y'all remember that movie, The Hostel? They did 2 or 3 of them. And about them hunting people. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's another movie that I saw years ago on Netflix. I can't think of the name about that right now. And they was talking about that. I want to read this. Ronnie Q said, how are you going to argue depopulation in Africa when Africa's landmass is larger than North America, South America? Hold up, let me go back up because I wanted to. North America. I'm not arguing against depopulation. South America, Europe, Australia, and China combined. I'm absolutely not trying to argue against depopulation. It only makes sense, And they have been theorizing global depopulation forever. They've been talking about it's too many people on the continent, too many Africans on the continent of Africa, and they saying there's so many people that they are overpowered. There's too many people for the animals to flourish. So you're gonna choose animal over people. That's what Prince Charles' son, Prince William, he did and I played it one time before. I read it. Someone was talking about depopulation. That's what he said. He chose to he's choosing animal over people. There's too many people. They need to depopulate, Africa so that the animals can have somewhere to graze. Okay. Oh, you meant Bill Gates is arguing depopulation of Africa? Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't read that. I missed that one. Okay, thank you, 77 Smith. But anyway, that's what the Prince of England or whatever, that's what he was. That's the dumb inhumane statement that he said before, right? Yes, he's not which he said. He actually said that. He said it was too many people and not enough. They was pushing out the animals. Their own people on their own continent. If there's too many people on the African continent, it ain't cause of the indigenous Africans, honey. It's cause of the French, the Germans, the Dutch, the English, the Americans, everybody else that's over there. Okay? It's out of balance. If it's too many people, it ain't cause of the indigenous Africans, honey. It's cause of them over there stripping the continent. Because Africa is the only self-sustaining continent. They can't figure out why Africa is the only self-sustaining continent and every other continent is separated from Africa. Africa is the only continent that is embedded in the middle of the earth. It is self-sustaining. Africa don't need nothing from nobody else. Africa got everything it needs. And many countries try to, it's been working forever to strip away Africa's, minerals and plant life and everything else. We know that, right? And so, yeah, even China's over there now, too. They're trying to play catch up, And so, yeah. And coupled with the fact that they want, it's China in particular. China in particular is trying to take over many countries in Africa because, you know, they pretty much done killed off their continent when that nuclear plant, you know, started seeping that nuclear radiation stuff. What is it, Fukushima? Fukushima is pretty much done killed off their continent, you know, and so that's why they're trying to find somewhere else to move. Okay, they're trying to move, you know, populate the African continent and still treating them people in their own land any kind of way. Ain't that something? But yeah, I find it fascinating. But anyway, that also goes to the argument of depopulation. Do you see what I'm saying? And so this is what I want to play for y'all because I done got all off of where the world it was I was going. So let's talk about this book, Medical Apartheid, real quick, right? Because we're 46 minutes in it. And let me mention this book too. There's a book called Goodbye Germ Theory, right? And it was made many years ago by this doctor. His name was William P. Trebling, right? And it's talking about germs. It's talking about early on when they believed that germs, if you could eradicate all the germs, that it was you know, it would eliminate a lot of illnesses, bacteria. All bacteria was bad. You need to do whatever you can to eliminate bacteria. Well, come to find out, and that is a German theory, that all bacteria is bad. All germs are bad. And come to find out years and years later, and under that theory came the vaccines and all of this, and all immunizations rather, and all of that, and all that studying on you know, kids in particular, right? But come to find out, the reason why the title of the book is Goodbye Germ Theory, simply put, is because we know now that all germs and all bacteria is not bad. But how much destruction has it done to our kids via these immunizations and stuff? And that is what that book is about. And I'm going to order that book off of Amazon. I haven't read it yet. I heard about it through somebody else. But the title of that book is Goodbye Germ Theory. And that coupled with Medical Apartheid, those are, if you can put them side by side, you'd be fascinated. Do you see what I'm saying? The ancestor souls can't rest. They have come back for revenge. Child, they can't get rid of us, okay? It don't matter. They can't. The problem is they can't figure out how to get rid of us, okay? That's the issue. To put it in a nutshell, Purple Love. See, they can't figure out how to get rid of the non-producers. They can't figure it out. And then they know that they can't totally get rid of us, because if they get rid of us, they're getting rid of them. So they can't figure it out. You know, that's part of the reason why they keep us separated. You see all these ads and stuff on TV now, to where you seeing, you know, they want to break down the positive image of the black woman, but at the same time, you want to make all this predictive programming and couple her with the non-black man. You ain't no good, but if you go over here and marry this white man, you can be redeemed. But you can't be redeemed with your own people. And then you got black men doing it to themselves because they hate black women. You know, we talked about the history of that. You know, I think last week we talked about the deep-seated anger, the misplaced anger that a lot of black men have for black women. We know that division started way back in 1619, where our people stepped off the boat. We know that, right? So you got all this predictive programming going on. You know, they want to kill you. They don't want to kill the woman. They want to kill the man. They can't really totally eradicate either of us, because if they're trying to get rid of us, they get rid of them. It's a whole lot going on. Anything that they do when it comes to this vaccine, anything that they put on us that they think is going to hurt us, you know, ricochets back to them. You can use that. You can even say that about the big pharma and those oxycodones and all these other drugs that they were pushing out. You know, because we know that big pharma is the biggest drug dealers in the world right now, right? They was pushing all these drugs, you know, on the Anglo. They want to keep us, the people that are addicted in the black communities, addicted to crack cocaine and stuff like that. While in the meantime, they were giving these oxycodones and all these other type of pills to these Anglos, but they didn't want to give them to us. And look what happened with that. You planned our downfall with crack cocaine, but you ended up having a humongous drug problem when it comes to the Anglo community. You see how that work? You try to hurt us, but you really hurt yourself. That's why it don't work. It don't work. In everything, you got to have balance. So you can't try to get rid of the quote-unquote non-producers and think you're going to hurt guys chosen. You can't do that, but we're not going to. We're going to have that discussion right there. But yeah, so anyway, it ricocheted. This vaccine. Oh, more black and brown people is dying from COVID. Then they going to come clean and say, no, they're not. No, they're not. So make it make sense. But anyway, let me find this one I want to play for you guys. And so I told you about the end of germ therapy. I told you a little bit about what that book is. I'm going to order that book. And but this book, Medical Apartheid, is a hard book to read, okay? But let me find this. So I found, because you know you can find anything on YouTube, the author of Medical Apartheid is a black woman by the name of Harriet Washington. And she published this book in 2008, I believe 2007, 2008. It is, if you are interested in the history of medical abuse when it comes to our people, you really need to read this book, right? Let me read you this brief synopsis, and then there was an interview. She did a little quick interview, I think about a year or so ago with the Eastern Virginia Medical School. They sat down with her and they gave her a little quick interview. It's only 16 minutes long, and I want to play that for you guys, if you don't mind. And she's just detailing some things about her book and why she wrote the book. And so it's real. It's just crazy. She says that this under the interview in the bio, it says on August 19, 2019, we caught up with her at Washington, lecturer in bioethics at Columbia University and author of Medical Apartheid, the dark history of medical experimentation on Black Americans from colonial times to the present. Before the lecture, history, ethics, and contemporary medical abuses. Wow. Here's a short interview with her discussing a range of topics related to the historical roots of bias and abuse in modern healthcare towards African Americans. Right? So she's doing this little brief interview, right, about her book, Medical Apartheid. Once again, the name of the book is Medical Apartheid, the dark history of medical experimentation on Black Americans from colonial times to the present, historical ethics, and contemporary medical abuses. The book is hard to read, okay? And she particularly paid close attention to the Tuskegee experiment, because it's a perfect example of medical apartheid. Now we know that they have experimented on Black women when it comes to gynecology in particular, because they felt like Black women at the time, Black slaves, they felt like that she could take more pain. And so when they did experiments on our ancestors, they didn't give us any type of anesthetic or anything at all, even beyond slavery. And she's going to talk about that, what they did when it comes to gynecology. It's really gross. But anyway, I don't want to tell it. I just want y'all to hear her say it, right? So let me find this, and we're going to listen to it, right? It's only 16 minutes long. And like I said, this is a brief interview. Now, there are questions, and I'm gonna pause it and read you the question, and then she gonna answer, right? Because that's how the video is set up. Unfortunately, I can't play the video, but I can play the audio. But I just want to let you guys what's going on when it's pausing. I'm gonna pause it and read the question, and then let you listen to her answer. Okay? No, racist is the number one pandemic right now. Absolutely, Purple Love. You're absolutely right. So anyway, let's get started. Let me turn this back up. I think I turned my volume down. And I'm so sorry I'm all over the place, but y'all got me all off my game, child. It's so much going on in the comment section, and I love it. Thank you guys for participating. You know what I mean? We don't always get to have these discussions over here. Not many people want to hear about anything like this if it's not beef. But you have to get the information out there. You have to, especially concerning this vaccine. You know what I mean? And I'll say what the mass media is saying about the vaccine again before we close the video, in case people came in late. You see what I'm saying? And what they're saying via mass media is the reason for this video this morning, because it's a lot of stuff going on, right? So let's listen. This is her at Washington, the author of Medical Apartheid. This is the author interview, right?
My name is Harriet Washington. I'm a writer, medical ethicist. I wrote a book entitled Medical Apartheid, which was the first
if y'all can hear it, hit the one.
History of research with African Americans. And it dealt with not only history of medicine, but also with social ills, racism. And a lot of my work is also focused on the intersection of ethics, history, and race in this country as it pertains to medical practices. It's a special interest of mine. I also do some teaching. I teach a bioethics course at Columbia University and lecture widely in this country and abroad about medical ethics issues, everything from conspiracy theories to the erosion of informed consent. And I find a great deal to keep me occupied.
Okay. There's a question here. The question is, and they write out the questions right. The question is, why did you choose EVMS to give your lecture on medical apartheid? So let's continue.
I was very happy to be invited back to EVMS. I lecture at many medical schools and institutions across the country, but this one always stayed in my mind. I had especially warm memories of it, and I find it a really exciting place because of the progress and the focus on issues of medicine and medical practice and medical care that go beyond the clinical classwork and the clinical issues. The issues are embedded in our society, and they dramatically affect how people's health waxes and wanes. And this is a school, an institution that has always taken this to heart, has always understood that one can't treat people in isolation in a clinic or in a hospital bed, that the entire person has to be addressed. And that means addressing some unfortunate aspects of our society. And anyway, it's always had a special place in my heart, and I'm very happy to be back here.
There's a question. The question asked now is, how did you first begin to develop an interest in medical ethics? And she responds,
it's hard to know what first piqued my interest in looking at the history of ethics as it pertained to African Americans and their treatment by the medical institutions in this country. But I know that my initial desire to be a physician and working in hospitals for over 10 years certainly sharpened that interest. I saw many things that troubled me and disturbed me, many questions I had about the interactions between individual patients and clinicians. And I actually found that clinicians were often very open about discussing with me their own trepidation about the way they felt constrained to treat patients. But it was a really interesting experience I had that I recount in Medical Apartheid when I was running a poison control center in a hospital in upstate New York. We were allowed to have extra space that was ceded to us by radiology. And I also found an old file cabinet that I knew I could use in my office. So I'm opening this file cabinet, cleaning it out, and I found all these old filed folders of patients that had been forgotten. And being who I am, I read every last one of them, of course. And I was struck by the fact that these were patients who were being considered for kidney transplantation. But their files looked different, and the differences seemed to be assorted according to race. The files of the Black patients were very thin, and those of the white patients were fatter. It's because the ones of the white patients had reams and reams of documentation about their social history, positive. They had positive support from family and friends about their insurance that made them able to pay for this kind of procedure, and bolstering their claim, for a new kidney, called the social profile. The social profiles of the other patients, the Black ones, everyone had the word Negro stamped on it. and they were thinner. Although, in particular, I saw one file that where a gentleman who had insurance, had a loving family like the other patients, and yet the plan for this patient was not to help him find an organ, but to help him prepare for his imminent demise.
Wow.
And I thought, is it race that's separating these patients from a kidney that they need to live? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But it certainly looked suspicious, and I had to know more. I think that triggered my interest. After that, I began looking everywhere to see whether or not Black and white patients were being treated equally with the same access to life-saving technologies. And dismayingly often, I saw that they were not. I wasn't a writer then. That's the interesting thing. I was running a poison control center, but when I became a writer, I knew it would be the first book that I felt passionately about, and it was.
Okay, there's another question. And just let me say before I read this other question, now that we know when it comes to organ donation and organ transplants, the organs of Black people, the organs of Black people with African descent, in particular, our organs can be transplanted into any race or ethnic group of people. Our organs are the only organs that can be transplanted into not only us, but into everybody else. So I find it fascinating while they want to plan out pretty much your hospice when it comes to being where you are on the kidney donation or heart donation. You know, they've got this waiting list. You put it down as far as you can go as a Black person on an organ donation list, but yet and still the organs of your own people can be transplanted into any other race or ethnic group of people. I find it fascinating. Okay, and all of this is her explaining why she wrote the book Medical Apartheid. Anyway, there's another question that states, what led you to go beyond the Tuskegee experiment and then historically to move forward to the present day? So this is her response.
After I had the opportunity to train in medical ethics, I spent 2.5 years training in medical ethics, and one of the questions I had was that there was one study, and seemingly only one study, that was acknowledged and well known among many people, in which African Americans were mistreated, and that was a Tuskegee study. But I had already learned from my own curiosity, my own research, that there had been many, many studies, many of them, in fact, most of them, much worse than Tuskegee. Studies in which African Americans were actively harmed, killed even. And I wondered why Tuskegee had such root in the American psyche. And I quickly realized it's because that's all people know about. Very often I would ask people about research with African Americans, clinical people, historians, people who should know. And they would only say Tuskegee. You're asking about Tuskegee, right? I'm like, no, I'm asking about everything else. I realized people did not know this history at all. And I went to international conference in Lübeck, Germany, of historians of medicine focused on medical experimentation in the 20th century. And they all said that only Tuskegee had harmed African Americans. I knew that wasn't true. So I began realizing the consequences of not understanding that there had been scores and scores of abusive medical research with African Americans over the decades. The consequences are that very often Tuskegee was dismissed as a terrible thing that happened, but it was accorded, the fears of African Americans to engage in medical research were accorded to Tuskegee. Well, they don't want to engage in medical research because they're overreacting to Tuskegee. It was called an overreaction to a single study, and I knew that wasn't true. I knew that people were actually reacting to centuries of abuse, and I thought it was really important to document that because nobody else had. When I went to the medical libraries in Europe and in the US, prestigious organizations like Harvard's Countway Library, you would find shelves filled with abuses toward whites and other groups, but nothing on the abuse of African Americans, nothing in books. But when I went to the basement and looked at the medical journals from the 18th, 19th century, I saw plenty there, but it was episodic. And I thought someone needs to pull this together so the people will understand that there's an entire canon of abusive research with African Americans. So people will stop dismissing it as a myth when these were actually all too real. And that's what I did.
Absolutely. There's another question. Just let me say that when it comes to our people being skeptical when it comes to healthcare, these are the reasons why. We have a valid it is not a myth. She said it is not a myth. It is a fact that they have experimented on our people for centuries when it comes to medical abuse and medical apartheid. And that is one reason, and it was being buried. And everybody knows about the Tuskegee Institute. It's not only what happened, the Tuskegee experiment when it came to syphilis. It is not that one incident that makes us leery of things like this vaccine and even going to the doctor. We know that historically, we know that in our DNA, there are many Black people that have never heard of the Tuskegee Institute. But when it comes to the medical, when it comes to going to the hospital, going to the doctor, when it comes to doctors in general, you get a bell going off in your head if you're a Black person. And what that bell is your generational trauma. What does Dr. DeGruy call it? Your post-traumatic slave disorder. That's that bell going off in your head as to whether you should trust these doctors or not. Even if you've never heard about the Tuskegee experiment and many other experiments, even when it comes to gynecology, if you are a person of color, you always get that little thing in the back of your head as to whether you should trust medicine, you should trust what the doctors say, or anything else that they want to do to you. This is the reason why. It is because I believe that trauma is also encoded in our DNA. And that is why she said she wanted to write this book. And she talks about more than just the Tuskegee Institute the experiment when it came to syphilis. In her book, she talks about more than that. She broke it down, and she tells you how they got all of these men and women, but moreover men, because they want to protect their family, to engage in this Tuskegee experiment. And like I said at the beginning of the video, right, fight or flight instinct, right? And what they did was they put out these flyers in these Black communities, and they said your blood need to be tested, because you and your family is more susceptible to getting this disease. And when they went to get their blood drawn to see if they had this disease in them already, moreover, men want to protect their families. What they did was it seemed like they were drawing blood, but they were actually infecting these people with syphilis. They tricked them. Do you see what I'm saying? So all of these people that was given the syphilis, they thought they was helping their family, but they were being experimented on without their consent. Even to this day, when you have these medical trials and stuff, you have a lot of non-white people, agreeing to be to undergo these medical experiments when it comes to medicine and all of this and all that. They give you thousands of dollars. They line up by the dozens, non-Black people to participate in these medical trials and stuff. But you see very few Black people, wanting to, even though they're paying you a lot of money, you see very Black people that are willing to undergo these kind of experiments and stuff. And that is because we know our history. Even if you don't know your history right off, even if you never read about it, like I said, you still get that little tingling in the back of your neck that's saying don't do it. Like Snazzy Girl saying, it's fight or flight. It's instinct. Because we know it ain't going to go good for us most of the time. Do you see what I'm saying? And so anyway, moving right along, child. Moving right along. I'm already over an hour. Y'all bear with me. So the next question was, what other abuses does your book detail that took place after the Tuskegee experiment? And this is her response.
It would have been good if I could have said the book ended with Tuskegee, that we had learned everything we should have learned, but we didn't at all. So what's happened is that we have many, many abuses after Tuskegee, at least as many after Tuskegee as beforehand. And there is not a sphere of American medicine that has gone untouched. Radiation experiments, experiments with children, reproductive abuse and experimentation. It's everywhere. Any sphere in which there's an interaction of African Americans with the system, you're going to find their abuse by the system. And in research settings, it was even more prevalent because in research settings, unlike therapeutic settings, there's a laissez-faire attitude often reigned. The interesting thing is that today we comfort ourselves that we have this matrix of laws that protect research subjects, and we do. That's a good thing. But laws are only as good as the people who enforce them.
Right.
And adhere to them. And all too often, the laws are not being adhered to. And even more often, we are passing laws now that actually erode informed consent, that reduce people's right to say yes or no in medical research. And when we do that, African Americans are often the most frequent victims of that.
Yep.
So unfortunately, although we do not engage in the most horrific physical abuses of the 18th and 19th centuries, we still do have many, many research studies that are ethically problematic and frankly abusive. So we still have not learned everything that we should have.
Absolutely. So there's another question. Let me just pause. And I said something the other day about the fact that they're contemplating if they want to make it mandatory for each American to take the vaccine, whether they want to take it or not. And they're saying that public health should override individual freedom of choice. Okay, so when it comes, so if they want to override your freedom of choice, you as a black person, that really sends bells off. Sets the bells off in the back of my head. Because if you want to take away my freedom of choice and you gonna make me take this vaccine, whether I want to or not, me and my whole family, my children, you're going to make us take this, or you're going to deny us services like going to the grocery store, going to school, being able to work. If you don't take this vaccine, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to be denied housing, just be denied everything. All cause, you don't have no rights when it comes to public health. And so it has to make you question that. And it also has to make you question why they kept hollering that black and brown people are more susceptible when it comes to death via this COVID-19 vaccine. So that's a lot to think about. So anyway, there's another question, and the question states that what would be the most important thing you would like students to take away from your lecture? And this is her response.
The most valuable takeaway for students is to understand that they are the people with the least power and the most to lose by implicitly or explicitly criticizing the system, criticizing their professors, criticizing the way medicine is performed. And yet it's absolutely critical that they have the courage to speak up if they think they see something wrong. There are several reasons for that. One reason is that medical students have, in my opinion, a privileged perspective. They're still not completely socialized as doctors. So they still are able to see things from a layperson's point of view. And frankly, most doctors lose that eventually. It's part of the training. And it's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're socialized into a profession and you gain, frankly, so much more. But as medical students, you still have both worlds. You're training as a physician, you have that perspective, but you can still see things from a layperson's perspective. Sometimes only you can see that something is wrong. Sometimes only you can be sensitive enough to understand that something can be abusive. And it's critically important to speak up, even though it's risky, even though it might cost you something, because you may be the only one seeing this wrong. And you may even be successful. You may even convince your attendings, your superiors, your colleagues that they need to reevaluate a practice or reevaluate a stance. So in that way, you can, and students have been, extremely important in advancing ethical thinking in medicine. I'm thinking, for example, of a group of London students. When I was studying medical ethics, in London, there were a few students who were being asked to do, as students had been asked to do for decades before them, you're going to learn to do a pelvic examination by practicing on this unconscious woman. She's been prepped for another surgery. She's unconscious. Now's your chance. Learn how to do a pelvic. And some students said, no, I don't want to do this. She hasn't given her permission. She's not awake, which means I don't know what I'm doing. Should I hurt her? She can't even tell me.
Wow.
It's wrong.
Wow.
They convinced their attending. They convinced people in their hospital. That hospital stopped allowing this practice. Other hospitals fell in suit. And in this country, some hospitals also no longer allow this. So their vision actually changed the practice of medicine. And that's the most important thing I have to say to the medical students.
Wow, there's another question. Just let me pause. Did y'all hear what she said? She said that when women would be put to sleep for having other medical surgeries and stuff like that, they would take time out and tell the medical students to do a pelvic exam on this woman, on these women. So that's like some kind of sexual assault, right? Because she's not giving consent for you to touch her body down there. She thinks she's going to have a surgery on whatever, her leg or hip or something, but you're taking the time out to invade her body and do a pelvic exam on her? Really? Wow. There's another question, y'all. The question says, have you seen an impact from your book that has happened over the last few years? Now, mind you, this book was published in 2007 to 2008, but that is the question, and this is her response.
I had hoped when I wrote this book that it would inspire other people, especially historians of medicine, to write about some of the issues that I addressed. I hoped, it had been my dream, that this would actually be viewed as become a new canon in the history of medicine, that people would explore this history. And I've seen that happen. There's now been a book published on I did a chapter on the fate of African Americans immediately around the time of the Civil War. And there's been a book published on that very subject. I did a section of the book where I talked about the government's propensity for supporting psychiatrists who are looking into a connection between violence and race. And Jonathan Metzl, wrote a book, The Protest Psychosis, that deals exactly with that. So I'm seeing more and more. Very recently, the New York Times has started a brilliant new series, 1619, to commemorate the 400 years since Africans first set foot on the continent. And in this series, the first session of the series, I'm reading it, and I felt like I was reading my book. I mean, the story of John Brown, which I tell in my book, is there. The story about the vaccination by Onesimus. I mean, all these things I had written in my book 12 years earlier are now in the New York Times, and everyone's reading them. And that's made me very happy. That's what I want to see. I want to see more and more people delve into this history, and more importantly, what this history can tell us about what's going on today. How we can interpret events today in the light of our history to understand and hopefully not repeat the mechanisms that bring them to bear.
Wow. So there's one more question. I think that this is the last question. And the question is, what have you been working on since writing Medical Apartheid? Wow.
Since I wrote Medical Apartheid, I've written several other books, and one of them had to do with the pharmaceutical industry and its commercialization of medicine and medical research. But I've been focusing more lately on cognitive effects of medical, injuries. I wrote a book called Infectious Madness, where I talked about pathogens and their role in mental disease. And a very recently published book is about environmental toxicity, environmental racism, and its cognitive effects. I mean, we all know that lead causes brain damage. We all know that heavy metals like mercury and arsenic also do that.
Did y'all hear her mention mercury and arsenic? And we talked about the immunizations and how the increased level of mercury affected our children and caused them to be autistic, right? So anyway, I just want to mention that real quick.
Right about the fact that pathogens pesticides, even banned pesticides, and PCBs and industrial chemicals all take their toll on human minds. And environmental racism means that they're taking a greater toll on people of color than they are on whites.
Yes.
And all that means. So I started by talking about intelligence, IQ testing, what it really means, what it really tests. And then I go on to explain and document how exposure to all these noxious chemicals and pathogens is affecting our intelligence, our collective intelligence, but is disproportionately victimizing African Americans. So that's my current obsession.
Wow, that is the end of the interview, and she's absolutely right about that. And I think the reason why, in my opinion, the reason why these toxins affect us at a greater rate, is simply because that we are like our continent. We are like the motherland. We are like the continent of Africa. Okay, when it comes to us being connected to not only the planet but also the sun. In the space itself. And a perfect example of that is the melanin in our skin. The melanin in our skin is what connects us to not only the planet, but also, outer space. There is melanin in outer space. There's the sun. We flourish when it comes to the sun because we are interconnected. Even in plant life, you can find melanin. And I believe that all these noxious chemicals are affecting us, people of color, black people, at a greater rate because it goes against nature. It goes against nature. And anything that's going against nature is going to affect you, black people. That is the reason why it is so important for us to become educated when it comes to things like these vaccines. Because like I said, thank you, Esri, we saw what the mercury levels, those elevated mercury levels did to our children. Do you see what I'm saying? I think that was an experiment. And when everybody caught on to it, when everybody started speaking out about it, only because it started affecting other races of children, in particular, people that believe that they are Anglo, that they are white. When it comes to the United States of America in particular, you're in a very precarious situation. You're in a very precarious situation when you do experiment like raise mercury levels and it's affecting children and causing them to be autistic. The reason why a lot of these white children were affected by that is because of slavery. You don't know, we are so mixed up. We are truly a melting pot, especially when it comes to ADOS, Americans of African descent. You don't know how much African DNA that they have in them. Just because they look white, it don't mean that it's only they're only European. They're only of European ancestry. See, we all mixed up, and it is a way. If you breathe lighter and lighter, you can breathe the melanin out of your skin, but that DNA in you is not going anywhere. And so that is why those children started being affected at alarming rates, and that I think that is the only reason why they lowered the mercury levels in those immunizations, is because those children started being affected. And remember when I said anything you try to do to us, it's going to ricochet back on them, and particularly in this country because of slavery. I know you guys have heard of the term dark-skinned white people. There's this woman on the internet right now that be dibbling and dabbling in this section, and she say she mixed, and she say she all this and all that. No, she not. She a dark-skinned white woman. Okay? That's what's going on with that. So you got to be particular about when you tweak around with us and want to tweak around with our DNA. You really tweaking around with, you could be tweaking around with yourself, particularly in this country. You got to be careful. So whatever they try to do to us, it's going to ricochet back onto them. And that brings me back around to what they're saying about this vaccine. And in closing, just let me say, it's being reported via mass media that they saying that the vaccine may protect you if you choose to take it. They're thinking that the vaccine will protect you from COVID-19 from anywhere between 4 and 6 months, and it's still unclear if it will prevent you coming down with COVID-19. They're not sure. We are all human guinea pigs. but moreover, they are particularly interested in black and brown people. Particularly interested. If they were not particularly interested in how this disease is affecting us, in particular us black people, they would not have been pushing it so hard when they said, black and brown people are more susceptible to death or die from COVID-19, and they kept pushing them numbers out there to where the Journal of American Medicine had to come out with that article, and I read an excerpt of that article to you guys at the beginning of the video in case you didn't hear it. Let me read it to you real quick, and we're going to get out of here because I know it's the other things that y'all want to look at. But I really want to share this info with you guys this morning because, pretty much this is a black oriented channel. Everybody is welcome, but I have only ever been black, and so that is why my commentary is the way that it is. Do you see what I'm saying? And I also, before I read that excerpt from the article from the Journal of Medicine or whatever, y'all know what I said, right? So the prologue of the book Medical Apartheid, it states that, quote, the first for history, it is explained in the book. It says that this book is the first for history of Black America's shocking mistreatment as unwilling and unwitting experimental subjects at the hands of the medical establishment. No one concerned with issues of public health and racial justice can afford not to read this masterful book that will stir up both controversy and long-needed debate. Okay, that is in the beginning of the book. That is what it's saying at the beginning of the book. And I hope you guys will get a copy of that book and read through it as much as you can. It's a hard book to read because it's hard. It's hard to read when you start to realize that for centuries our people have been been used as human guinea pigs. Every chance they get, they want to experiment on you. They don't know if they want to eradicate you, eliminate you via depopulation, or if they want to keep you around because they know that they will eventually breed themselves out. Okay, to the point to where they are promoting interracial relationships. That's how bad it's getting. When it comes to their mortality, and also I'm gonna have to do another video when it comes to the mortality rate, the infant mortality rate in black communities. Not only the mortality rate in unborn black children, but also the mortality rate of black pregnant women. Okay, the mortality rate is going higher and higher, and people are speculating it's because of medical apartheid. It's their in many people's opinions, they are letting all types of things go untreated on purpose when it comes to pregnant black women. That's why the mortality rate of their children as well as themselves is going higher and higher every year. You are more likely to die from being pregnant and trying to have a baby than a whole lot of other things that affect us in the black community. And that is shocking to me. You are willing to let other type of things that, anything can go on in a pregnancy, but they're willing to overlook. It is appearing that they're overlooking all those other things. And black women and unborn children are dying as a result of them overlooking these things when it comes to black women being pregnant. And I think that is so sad and it's so absolutely disgusting. But let me read you this one more time. This little paragraph from the Journal of American Medicine when it comes to the COVID, in case you didn't hear it at the beginning of the video. Then you can go find this information yourself. And this is a quote from that. The article is really, really long, but I just want to take out this one little excerpt, okay? The excerpt states that while multiple research studies show that Black and Hispanic patients are more likely to test positive for COVID-19, researchers found that once hospitalized, Black patients, quote, after controlling for other serious health conditions and neighborhood income, were less likely to have severe illness, die, or be discharged to hospice compared to white patients. The study, recently published online in JAMA, Journal of American Medical, whatever, Network is, according to its authors, one of the first to examine the impacts of comorbid conditions and neighborhood socioeconomic status on outcomes for Black, Hispanic, and Asian patients hospitalized for COVID-19. Findings indicate that Black and Hispanic populations are not inherently more susceptible to poor COVID-19 outcomes compared to other groups, and that once hospitalized, their outcomes are equal to or better than their white counterparts. That is what they're saying now. They're having to come clean. Because like I said at the beginning of the video, remember, they were saying in mass media that Black and brown people were more susceptible to death when it comes to COVID-19. Now they're walking that back. So anyway, guys, these are just a few things that I want to present to you guys today. I know that a lot of people don't like to listen to this type of content, but I try to hold off as long as I could. I just had to go on and try to put it out there so that you guys will hopefully be informed. I hope that you guys will at least consider what I have presented to you today when it comes to deciding whether or not to take that. Sorry about that, guys. If you can hear me, hit the one real fast. I just want to the thing shut down. Hit the one if y'all can hear me. All I want to say was I hope that you guys have a nice day. If you can hear me, you're very welcome, Mama G3. The thing just shut down. I don't know if they're gonna pop this video or not. We know that they did it around about the time of the election when I presented that information. Yeah, I'm not saying anything that they're saying. So I'm just simply giving my opinion. Do you see what I'm saying? Thank you, Snazzy Girl. But let me get off of here. Yeah, I don't want to say anything else because I want the video to stay up. I hope it still stays up. But like I said, it just blanked off on me. So that means I've been talking too much. But anyway, I hope you guys will consider the information that I presented to you guys this morning when it comes to deciding whether you want to take the vaccine or not, especially as it pertains to your children. Do you see what I'm saying? But we are indeed in the midst of a global pandemic. And you guys, please be safe out there. Do you see what I'm saying? Please wear your mask, your gloves, your goggles, social distance, everything you can do. Thank you, Ronnie Q. Everything you can do to stay safe and keep your family safe, that's what y'all do, okay? We are about 2 weeks away from Christmas. Do you see what I'm saying? This is the most miserable year that I have ever experienced in my life. And hopefully it will get better. You know, they're hoping for herd immunity, the onslaught of they're hoping to jumpstart herd immunity via this vaccine that they're rolling out. You know, that's what they're hoping for, truth be told. Do you see what I'm saying? And so, yeah. But anyway, I've got to go. If you guys haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. Thank you for sitting with me through this commentary. I know a lot of us, especially in this sector, don't like to have these types of conversations, but I felt like it was absolutely imperative. Okay, so I'm gonna get off of here. Once again, go back and listen to the first beginning of the video if you haven't. Hit the like button, hit the share button. Do you see what I'm saying? If you have any more questions, please feel free to put it in the comment section after this video uploads. Hopefully it will upload. If you have any more questions, just drop it down in the comment section, and I will try to answer it to the best of my ability. You see what I'm saying? But I've just presented to you a little bit of what I've been reading. Please check out those books if you haven't. Medical Apartheid, as well as the other book that I mentioned, The End of Germ Therapy, the end of the germ theory. Okay, please check that out. Thank you, NYW. Information said they don't like this kind of teaching. End of the germ theory. You guys be sure to check out that book as well. And so thank you. Yeah, the title of the book is Goodbye Germ Theory, Ending a Century of Medical Fraud. That's the name of the book. Along with Medical Apartheid, please check out the book titled Goodbye Germ Theory, Ending a Century of Medical Fraud. The book is by William Trebing. I know I'm butchering his last name, but his last name is spelled capital Trebing. Be sure to check that out too, especially when it comes to immunizations and your children. Okay, and just remember, all germs aren't bad germs. Okay, and we know that our kids don't even hardly go outside anymore to pick up those good germs. All right. So anyway, I'm gonna get off here. You guys have a nice day. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning, and please and thank you for being interactive in the conversation and being willing to listen to what it is that I presented to you today. Okay, thank you, Ezri. And so I'm gonna talk to you guys later. We're gonna do this again. Like I said, I try to hold off till I got that whole members only thing set up, but we really needed to talk about this today. Like I couldn't hold off anymore. Okay, I just wanted to share it with you guys, whoever listens, right? And pass it on. And I'm going to talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Be safe. Bye-bye. Peace.